All right, so this is continued. The power got cut off on page 109. So again, I'm starting on 18. In accepting favors and in returning gratitude, our duty must be wholly different. CF PP 80 and 81. 19. Continued. Again, metriculous, meretricious, meretricious love, that is, the lust of generation arising from bodily beauty, and generally every sort of love which owns anything save freedom of soul as its cause, readily passes into hate. Unless, indeed, what is worse, it is a species of madness, and then it promotes discord rather than harmony. 20. As concerning marriage, it is certain that this is in harmony with reason, if the desire for physical union be not engendered solely by bodily beauty, but also by the desire to beget children and to train them up wisely, and moreover, if the love of both, to wit, of the man and of the woman, is not caused by bodily beauty only, but also by freedom of soul. 21. Furthermore, flattery begets harmony, but only by means of the vile offense of slavishness or treachery. None are more readily taken with flattery than the proud, who wish to be first, but are not. 22. There is in abasement a spurious appearance of piety and religion, although abasement is the opposite to pride, yet he that abases himself most akin to the proud. 23. Shame also brings about harmony, but only in such matters as cannot be hid. Further, as shame is a species of pain, it does not concern the exercise of reason. 24. The remaining emotions of pain towards men are directly opposed to justice, equity, honor, piety, and religion, and although indignation seems to bear a certain resemblance to equity, yet is life but lawless, where every man may pass judgment on another's deeds and vindicate his own or other men's rights. 25. Correctness of conduct, modestia. That is, the desire of pleasing men which is determined by reason is attributable to piety. But if it spring from emotion, it is ambition, or the desire whereby men, under the false cloak of piety, generally stir up discords and seditions. For he who desires to aid his fellows either in word or in deed, so that they may together enjoy the highest good, he, I say, will before all things strive to win them over with love, not to draw them into admiration, so that a system may be called after his name, nor to give any cause for envy. Further, in his conversation, he will shrink from talking of men's faults, and will be careful to speak but sparingly of human infirmity. He will dwell at length on human virtue or power, and the way whereby it may be perfected. Thus will men be stirred not by fear, nor by aversion, but only by the emotion of joy, to endeavor, so far as in them lies, to live in obedience to reason. 26. Besides men, we know of no particular thing in nature in whose mind we may rejoice, and whom we can associate with ourselves in friendship or any sort of fellowship. Therefore, whatsoever there be in nature besides man, a regard for our advantage does not call on us to preserve, but to preserve or destroy according to its various capabilities, and to adapt to our use as best we may. 27. The advantage which we derive from things external to us, besides the experience and knowledge which we acquire from observing them, and from recombining their elements in different forms, is principally the preservation of the body. From this point of view, those things are most useful which can so feed and nourish the body, and all its parts may rightly fulfill their functions. For in proportion as the body is capable of being affected in a greater variety of ways, and of affecting external bodies in a great number of ways, so much the more is the mind capable of thinking. But there seem to be very few things of this kind in nature, wherefore, for the due nourishment of the body, we must use many foods of diverse nature. For the human body is composed of very many parts of different nature, which stand in continual need of varied nourishment, so that the whole body may be equally capable of doing everything that can follow from its own nature, and consequently that the mind may also be equally capable of forming many perceptions. 28. Now for providing these nourishments, the strength of each individual would hardly suffice, if men did not lend one another mutual aid. But money has furnished us with a token for everything. Hence it is with the notion of money that the mind of the multitude is chiefly engrossed. Nay, it can hardly conceive any kind of pleasure which is not accompanied with the idea of money as cause. 29. This result is the fault only of those who seek money, not from poverty or to supply their necessary wants, but because they have learned the arts of gain, wherewith they bring themselves to great splendor. Certainly, they nourish their bodies according to custom, but scantily, believing they lose as much of their wealth as they spend on the preservation of their body. But they who know the true use of money, and who fix the measure of wealth solely with regard to their actual needs, live content with little. 30. As therefore those things are good which assist the various parts of the body and enable them to perform their functions, and as pleasure consists in an increase of or aid to man's powers, in so far as he is composed of mind and body, it follows that all those things which bring pleasure are good. But seeing that things do not work with the object of giving us pleasure, and that their power of action is not tempered to suit our advantage, and lastly, that pleasure is generally referred to one part of the body more than to the other parts. Therefore, most emotions of pleasure, unless reason and watchfulness be at hand, and consequently the desires arising therefrom, may become excessive. Moreover, we may add that emotion leads us to pay most regard to what is agreeable in the present, nor can we estimate what is future with emotions equally vivid. 31. Superstition, on the other hand, seems to account as good all that brings pain, and as bad all that brings pleasure. However, as we have said above, page 104, none but the envious take delight in my infirmity and trouble. For the greater the pleasure whereby we are affected, the greater is the perfection whereto we pass, and consequently more we do partake of the divine nature. No pleasure can ever be evil, which is regulated by a true regard for our advantage. But contrariwise, he who is led by fear and does good only to avoid evil is not guided by reason. 32. But human power is extremely limited, and is infinitely surpassed by the power of external causes. We have not, therefore, an absolute power of shaping to our use those things which are without us. Nevertheless, we shall bear with an equal mind all that happens to us in contravention to the claims of our own advantage, so long as we are conscious that we have done our duty, and that the power which we possess is not sufficient to enable us to protect ourselves completely, remembering that we are a part of universal nature, and that we follow her order. If we have a clear and distinct understanding of this, that part of our nature which is defined by intelligence, in other words, the better part of ourselves, will assuredly acquiesce in what befalls us, and in such acquiescence will endeavor to persist. For in so far as we are intelligent beings, we cannot desire anything save that which is necessary, nor yield absolute acquiescence to anything save to that which is true. Wherefore, in so far as we have a right understanding of these things, the endeavor of the better part of ourselves is in harmony with the order of nature as a whole.